Hi guys, so in this video I'm going to show you the top 10 uses for your Warhammer 40k Sprues. So I've only just got into collecting the figures and some of the vehicles, and already I've got quite a lot of Sprues. And I know a lot of you guys out there have been collecting these for years and years and probably have hundreds and hundreds of these Sprues. So here's just a few ways you can use them instead of throwing them out. So number 10 on my list is to make a cobblestone flooring, and this is easily done by cutting up the Sprue into small little squares. You don't have to be too precise here, as it works out better if they're a little bit different, just to get a little bit of difference in height. So once you've got loads cut up, it's just a case of putting some glue on the base. I'm using PVA glue here, and it's probably one of the cheapest glues you can use. Then I'll start from the middle, just placing them next to each other. This is a bit of a fiddly job and certainly does take some time, but I think the end result is certainly worth it. So I gave it a coat of grey primer, and now I'm just going over with some black wash. Obviously you can take more time than I am, and you can make some of the stones different colours. And then to finish it off, I'm simply going to dry brush it with a little bit of white paint. And there we go, I think the end result looks really good. If you did want to make lots and lots of the same bases, I would recommend making a mould of this and then casting lots, just because it does take a lot of time putting each individual brick in. And then we're on to number 9, where I'll make a simple wall. And again, cutting the Sprue into small parts, trying to get them roughly the same sort of size as though they're individual bricks. And then we can line them up to glue them together. And this time I'm using some plastic glue. So to make it look like a brick wall, we just stagger each line. And then just keep repeating the same process. So I'll put a figure behind the wall just so I can get it the right height, as I want him to still be able to look over it. And I'm also putting some bricks to either side, just so the wall stands up and doesn't fall over. And again, I'm just going to leave it in the grey primer and put a black wash over it. Followed by a little bit of dry brushing. And again, it's a pretty cool little piece of terrain, which obviously you can make as big or as small as you need and paint it to suit the rest of your board. And on to step 8, we're going to stick with the theme of terrain. And in this case, I'm going to make a small little building. So the Sprues are great for making frames, as obviously you can cut up a variety of pieces just to make supports and whatever else you need to make the frame stand up and be sturdy. So I'm just going to cut up some coffee stirrers, just to add in some planks of wood to this little build. So with this kind of build, the only thing that's really stopping you is your imagination. And you can add bits of cardboard to make walls or tubings, but this just gives you a rough idea of a simple little build you can do, basically just using the Sprues and some coffee stirrers. So again, just a nice simple paint job on this. Obviously you can spend a lot more time, care and a tension on yours. And there we go, another quick and simple little build that you can use to display figures or to actually use in your war games. And then straight on to number 7. And this one's going to be an anti-tank barricade. So for this I need to cut out the straight pieces and cut off all the little nibbly knobbly bits. So you need 3 pieces for each barricade, and these pieces need to be roughly the same length. And then you need to glue the 3 together so it's like a teepee. And this way, once the glue's dried, it'll stand up on its own. So I'm making 3 of them just as an example, but obviously you make as many or as few as you need. So I'm going to glue mine to separate bases, but obviously you could put all 3 or 4 or 5 on one base, however you really need it for your terrain. So I'm gluing on these small stones, just so they'll act and look a bit like mud afterwards. And then I've glued each barricade to each base, and I'm just going to do a little bit of painting on them. And there we go, some simple anti-tank or anti-any kind of vehicle. And moving on to number 6. And this one's going to be a simple ladder, which can be used as a ladder, a platform, a walkway, or anything else you can think of. Again, I'm using one long piece, taking off all the little nibbly knobbly bits. And I'm going to carefully cut this in half to make 2 pieces. And then it's just a case of making the rungs for the ladder. So all these bits do need to be cut the same sort of length, just to make sure it fits together at the end. And when you have enough rungs, it's just a case of gluing it all together. Obviously when you make yours, you can sand these sprues down a lot more to make them a lot smoother and cleaner looking. But I kind of imagine every time I make something, I'm making it as though I'm an orc making something. Which is why a lot of the stuff looks rough and ready, just how the orcs like it. And there you go, a simple walkway, platform or ladder, however you want to use it. And on to number 5, which is something I've heard quite a lot of people use the sprues for. And that's simply as a holder for when you want to paint your figures. So you just need one long piece of the sprue, and then you just glue down your figure. And the best way to do this is just to glue 1 foot down, so it makes it easier to pull them off once they're done. And this way it's nice and easy to paint several figures at once, rather as just the undercoat, or paint the full figure this way. Okay, so number 4 is something that needs to be done in a well ventilated area, as this one involves melting the sprue. And if you've seen one of my earlier videos, you know how much I like setting fire to things. So here you just simply heat up the sprue, so you're able to pull it apart And then this gives you a long thin piece of plastic. And then this can be used for making aerials or adding bits of it to a figure, or for making wires on a vehicle. Pretty much anything really, but it's just a great way of getting a thin piece of plastic that you can bend easily into shape and glue onto figures, bases, buildings, whatever you need really. Okay, so now we're into the top 3, and for this one I'm going to make a Nurgle base. So for this one all you need to do is cut up lots of small little pieces, which we can then glue onto the base. And then once that's all dried, with the help of the nice little flame, we can start to melt the sprues. Again, be careful when doing this that you don't set the whole thing on fire, and make sure you're in a nice ventilated area. And then once the sprue is nicely heated up, we can just use the metal tool to flatten and push bits down. So there's no right or wrong way of doing this, it's just a case of making a nice heapy looking mess. And then once that's cooled down you can paint it however you like. So I'm just going to paint it so it looks like a gooey, sludgy, pussy mess basically. Okay, so now on to number 2, and this one's going to be an orc barricade. So again for this one I'm just need to cut several long bits, cutting off all the nibbly knobbly bits. And then one end of each piece I'm just going to cut into a point. So these pieces don't need to be the same length, and if anything I think it looks better when they are a bit more irregular. And then once that's done I can just glue them all together. Making sure the bottom flat area is where the bottom of each pole starts. So at the back of the barricade I put one long piece in, just to help support it, and then a couple of smaller pieces at angles, just so the piece stands up on its own. And I'm simply painting mine silver and then just giving it a couple of washes. And there you go, I think that's a great looking orc barricade. Which leads us finally on to number 1, which is probably my favourite one of all of them. So this is probably one of the simplest ones here, as all you need to do is take the sprues and then take an envelope, or if you haven't got an envelope just take an old box that the sprue can fit inside. And then on the outside of the envelope or the box, just write miniature hobbyist. And in the top right hand corner, put a stamp and then pop it in a box to me. As I would love to have lots more sprues to see what's possible to make with them, whether it's using them as they are or melting them down with the old acetone. So this one is obviously a bit cheeky, but I've always believed that if you don't ask, you don't get. So honestly guys, if you do have any sprues you don't need and you're okay sending them to me, that'd be awesome. My email is in the description where we can get more details from each other. The same could also be said for any figures or vehicles you may have that you no longer want or need. By all means, I'll happily give them a good home. And anything that is sent to me, I will give you a shout out on this channel, as it would be much appreciated. So there we go guys, there's 10 simple things you can do with the sprues rather than throwing them in the bin, or just having them sitting around in boxes in your cupboard not doing anything. So I am going to see what else can be made from the sprues, and I will be having a go at making some terrain and maybe even adapting some vehicles with the sprues as they are, as well as the melted ones. So keep an eye out for those videos guys. If you have enjoyed the video, don't forget to hit that like button and leave some comments below, let me know what you thought of this video and what you might want to see me do in the future. If you are new here, don't forget to subscribe and turn on the notification bell, just so you get informed of when my videos come out. Here's another video you can click on to see more of what I do. If you are able, guys, it'd be great if you could share this on Twitter, your Facebook page or Facebook group, Discord and Reddit. That'd be awesome. Okay guys, that's it. Bye for now.